Welcome to In Isolation, the weekly webcast that makes you ask yourself just how crazy you're going in quarantine, if you're not already asking. I'm James Kerwin, and with me from across the globe is my sensational co-host, Nicola Bryant. Nicola, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yes.
Holding up in isolation, all right?
Yeah. Doing okay. I'm probably in that weird position because I have to get something completed before we're out of isolation, but I'm actually trying to hold on to this time.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where you guys are over there time-wise, but I just figured out the other day that by the time when this episode airs, as of the airing of this episode, I believe it will be day 43 for me. LA is officially locked down until I believe May 15th, and they also passed a law that requires us all to wear face masks anytime we go outside. If you're in public, whatever you're doing, you have to be wearing a face mask. Now, you know, I try to go for a walk every day and get out a little bit, but it's interesting how many people aren't really following that rule, and they should be.
Right. We haven't reached the face mask. A lot of people are asking for it to be.
Those of us who have corrected vision, they're telling us we shouldn't wear our contacts during this time because I guess that can contribute to contagion. So they suggest we always wear glasses, which I need for distance. The problem is when you wear a face mask with glasses, unless you have it exactly right, the glasses fog up every time you breathe. So there's all sorts of articles online about like how you can avoid that and stuff. Most of them don't work.
I happen to have 48 face masks, which makes me look like a hoarder, but I got them 2 years ago when my mother had 3 lung infections in a row and she wanted visitors. And I said, you need to make sure you're not picking up anything from anybody else. So I made the visitors wear masks.
It's certainly, you know, this deep into it, it's taking its toll. I think it takes its toll physically because it's hard to stay in shape, and you can go for a run or take a walk. You can do push-ups or sit-ups. It's definitely taking a physical toll on people, and it's also taking an emotional toll. How are you doing with that? How are you dealing with all that?
I'm in a good place. I think I was probably designed for this through events in my life, in the way that the amount of work I'd already done on myself. So I'm okay. And physically, I'm about the fittest I've been in ages. So I am walking the dogs in isolation, avoiding people. I'm doing strenuous workouts every other day. And I'm doing my yin yoga every day.
Okay.
I'm also a qualified yin yoga teacher, which people may not know. So I qualified in January, which you do know.
Yes.
Not in order to go around teaching, but because it's a subject I'm fascinated by. So I'm interested in it, and that's proved very helpful. And I also changed my diet radically at the beginning of this year. So this year I have lost 13 pounds. And last year I lost 14 pounds.
And that's it has nothing to do with isolation. That's your diet that you're on.
Yeah. But I've kept it up. It's tempting to just, hit the ice cream and the wine. Those would be my twos, but I haven't. And so I've been doing well. I wish I had more me time. I wish I had more time to meditate and write poetry right now. But I'm helping other people. I'm just helping them to kind of handle it.
Right.
Helping other people always makes you handle it better. So I'm doing okay. I'm feeling slightly under pressure, but that's because I've got a script to finish before isolation finishes, and I have my mom to take care of, and it's a mammoth task taking care of her.
I bet. Yeah.
She is doing well. She's doing really well.
Good.
So I'm glad. She seems to be settling, resting, recuperating, regenerating. So I'm glad she's with us and she's doing well.
It's interesting how different creative people respond differently to shelter in place, isolation, whatever we call it. Because I know people who are creative who are just like, oh, this is great. This is, I live for this kind of thing. I love just being at home, working, writing, painting, doing whatever it is that I do. And then there's other people, and I think I'm probably one of them, who is feeling very trapped. And finding it difficult to concentrate enough to be productive. And there's that pressure too. People are like, oh, use the time. Like Isaac Newton used his quarantine time to invent calculus. So you can do something like that. And that's no pressure there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I found it to be, I found it to be, like I said, hard to concentrate, hard to focus. People like catch up on TV shows and books and things like that. I kind of find it hard to even focus on that.
Yeah.
And I think also part of it is that it depends on how isolated you are. Some people, like myself, live entirely alone. Some people don't. And I think that if you live alone and have not had any real human contact for a lengthy period of time, no matter how introverted you are, no matter how comfortable you are in your own creative space, you do start to go a little bit crazy, and that's kind of where I've been finding myself.
I find my dog walks are really the bit that keeps me sane. And a little meditation before bed, that's really helpful too. But there is an interaction at a distance. It's like the dog walkers are way apart. It's like the dogs go up and say hi, and the dogs come back to you. We had a little chat about the dogs and like, oh, aren't they so cute? And I was like, that was nice.
Yeah.
And Mum says, who did you meet? What dogs did Harvey meet? What dogs did Marnie run away from? So it is a tiny little interaction, and it's nice. And even if I don't meet anyone, I feel like I'm having an interaction with nature.
And interactions like that we used to take for granted now are like, oh, that was great.
That was great. Someone said hello.
Yeah. I kind of cut off your train of thought earlier. You're talking about your diet and how you've been getting into shape even before isolation. How's that going? What's the thought process behind that?
I started it for health reasons because I'd had some problems as to why my weight had gone on through some particular drugs. So I was trying to sort that out. And then I got this job.
Ooh.
I have booked 2 movies. And I need to be in training for these movies. And I'm going to be having SAS training, weapons training. And so I need to look like the part.
That's awesome.
I also have a television series, which will be 2 years, 20 episodes each year. And that will take at least 1 to 2 years before it can come out because there is so much prep. Now, this is not a drama. This is a factual television series, which I'm going to be co-presenting. So really excited about that. And then after my double movies, I've also got another movie. I'm making up for lost time here. It's a World War II movie, and I'm playing a member of the Resistance. And I cannot say anything more about that one.
Okay, fair enough.
But the first movie I'm coming out to do is called Midas, and it's an action thriller. And all of my filming is in the UK for the first film. But in the second film, I'm going to be in Dubai. I'm going to be in the south of France. I'm going to be in Monaco. I'm going to be in Spain. I'm going to be in Cape Town.
Okay.
And so I also have to get this script written before isolation ends. So I'm in that weird place of going, oh, let it be another month. No, don't let it be another month. Let it be another month. No, yeah. So I'm kind of arguing with myself as to how much time I need.
So you have the two-part Midas film, you have the World War II film, you have the series that you're hosting,
and a horror movie of which we're hoping to do a short of it called Chuck, Misty Moons Productions, and that's going to have my friend Graham Cole and an actor I haven't met or worked with yet, but Tiger Drew Honey. So I'm looking forward to working with him. And that's a short, and if that goes well, that's also going to become a feature-length movie.
Okay, so it's a short that's done as kind of a sizzle reel type of thing for potential feature. Oh yeah, yeah.
So James, what are you up to? I know you've got some stuff in the pipeline, things that you're raring to get going, doing, a minute isolation is over.
Yeah, yeah. I do actually. It's so unusual because, I mean, as you know, with many industries, the film production industry is shut down around the world and in Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood's a ghost town. There's no production going on, and not only is there no physical production going on, but TV show writers' rooms have shut down. Writers who are still working are working from their homes. Agencies have shut down. So scripts aren't being optioned. Films are not being put into prep.
Oh
It's
yeah.
such an uncertain tomorrow. It's such an unusual time because it's hard to plan anything if you don't already have it in the can. Now, I do have one thing in the can that I guess I can do a little plug for here. So I did a film that is not out yet. It's a short film called When the Train Stops. So it's about a young man who is a fugitive from the law in the American Southwest. And it veers into it's a really interesting character study, and it veers into some really interesting territory. So
Who's in it? How did this happen?
So Michael Forrest, the classic film star from the 50s and 60s and 70s, who is now 91 years old. He turned 91 this past week. He played Apollo in Star Trek, the original series. He reprised that role in Star Trek Continues. And he became friends with all of us there, kind of a part of the Star Trek Continues family. And his wife, Diana Hale, is executive producer of this film. Her sister, Bernadette Hale, is a screenwriter. And so Bernadette wrote this film as a kind of vehicle for Michael to retire. It's kind of his final project before heading off into retirement.
Sounds great.
And he's one of the main characters in the film. He plays a U.S. Marshal. And so they brought on Lisa Hansel, who was makeup supervisor and one of the producers of Star Trek Continues, to produce this film, and then me to direct it. And we cast it mostly with actors that we had worked with on Star Trek Continues, kind of kept it all in the family. And it is such a fun project. So we shot the film. I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's been playing on the festival circuit for about the past year, I want to say, maybe a little more, and it's done quite well. It's won a number of festival awards. It's gotten really good audience reception. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. So everybody keeps asking, when is it going to come out? I don't know yet. That's kind of up to the producers. Obviously, the film festival circuit is kind of suspended for right now, as is everything else. So I'm not quite sure how many more we're going to play on before it winds up getting released to the public. But hopefully it will be out sooner rather than later. And I think people will really enjoy it. So that's one thing to check out.
I saw you picking up some of those awards. I noted on Instagram and things, I heard mentions of your awards.
Yeah. I mean, Bernadette wrote a really great, she created some fascinating characters, fascinating character interplay. And I'm just really happy with how the whole thing turned out. It looks great. It sounds great. I'm so proud of the work that all the actors did, Michael in particular. So yeah, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. And then, beyond that, like I said, it's so hard to predict. The next thing that I would love to do is a feature. Kipley Brown and I, Kipley, you
Yeah.
work with her on Star Trek Continues. She was an actress on that, among many other things, and she was also a writer on STC. So she and I wrote a story. I think it's really kind of a cool concept. It's hard to describe. It's not quite science fiction, but maybe borderline science fiction. But I describe it as a science-based psychological mystery.
Ooh.
I don't know. Yeah, it's.
I like it.
I've been using the time to kind of flesh it out into a full screenplay, and that's something that I would love to do next. But as I said, it's so hard right now because nothing's going on. And the interesting thing is I've read articles and I've heard from different people. There are two very distinct schools of thought as to what's going to happen to the film and TV production industry once shelter in place is over and the pandemic's over and everything's back to normal. There are people who are arguing that it's going to be next to impossible to get projects off the ground because there will be such a backlog of production, particularly television shows that we're unable to shoot during this time. And so those kind of things are going to be prioritized. And then there's another school of thought which says there's going to be such a dearth of content because nothing has been being made for so many months that people are going to be itching to greenlight new films. So again, who knows which is true? Who knows what's actually going to happen when this is all over?
Yeah, I've heard that in the film industry, there will be a dearth. And that the projects that we're in the middle of are the ones that will suffer the most because they are now dead. Because the contracts are out of date. They don't own anybody for those movies. So they would have to remount all over again. And they've already spent the money.
Yeah. Force majeure, act of God. You can't.
So in terms of film, I think that's pretty much the case. In terms of television, for the regular series, people are going to want to get back to doing those series again and making those. Whether that blocks out new material, I don't know. But I've heard the dearth, you better have everything ready because it's going to be so busy and everyone's going to want your stuff. Yeah.
All right, let's fingers crossed that that's how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Nicola, I think that leads us to a new segment that we're going to start on the show, answering viewer questions and comments. And a segment I like to call Voices from Isolation. This week's question is from K Baker 4013, who writes via Twitter, read something today on Facebook, and I was wondering if it was true. Did you audition for the part of Captain Janeway in Star Trek Voyager? Well, I will come out here for the first time and I will admit, yes. In fact, I did indeed audition for the role of Captain Janeway in Star Trek Voyager. I don't know why I didn't get it. It's a sore point to this day. No, obviously, the question is directed towards Nicola. So, Nicola, is that in fact true?
I have no idea where this story came from, but someone started it and it's perpetuated. I was going to have auditions for Stargate, and they were looking originally for Star Trek Next Generation at a point when I was going to come over to LA, but when I arrived, it was too late. They'd already done all that. But I have never auditioned for Captain Janeway. And so, no, it's not true.
Myth officially busted.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for the question, K Baker 4013. And
if you have a question, either post underneath this YouTube little film, or if you want to post on either of our Twitter accounts, just post the question. We will not reply on Twitter. Just post the question and put hashtag in isolation, and we might pick your question for next week. How's that, James?
That sounds great to me. And both of our Twitter usernames are in the end credits of these episodes. So you can find us there if you don't already know them. And yeah, just ask away, or even if it's just a comment. And from time to time, we will read them on the air.
Yeah, we love hearing from you. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun, James. I'm enjoying doing this. I hope everyone's enjoying watching, and we'll have some more exciting stuff to talk about next week.
Absolutely. I am enjoying doing this as well. So look forward to talking to you soon, and come back next week for our next episode of In Isolation.
Bye, everyone. Stay safe. And you.